Cool.
Hey everybody, Jimmy from Superpath here today with my friend and former colleague too, Mark Rogers, who's the head of content at Freshpaint. Mark, you're hiring for a content role, which we're going to talk about. But first, introduce yourself, if you will, and then tell us a little bit also about Freshpaint.
Yeah, it's first Jimmy. Thanks for having me on this. I love doing these. But a
This
little
is our
bit about
third one.
yeah. Honestly, it's been
Yeah,
done what podcasts with multiple fresh painters, a couple of these now too. So
yep,
this is great. But so a little bit about myself. I'm the director of content marketing at Freshpaint. Basically, what that means is I'm responsible for everything when it comes to content. So like obviously we do the traditional stuff like ebooks, blog posts, that kind of stuff, but content team's also responsible for like event style content as well. So like webinars, presentations, stuff that happens in the real world, which I think is really cool. So that's what I'm responsible for at Freshpaint. Prior to Freshpaint, I was, as Jimmy knows, at Animals for about 4 years and a whole bunch of content roles there. I did everything from content writer to content strategist to I think director of content was my title by the time I left there. I've just been in content for like over 10 years at this point, which makes me an old guy in the content world, but I know it's a fun way to do marketing. I really love content. So that's the 30,000 foot overview of me.
cool. That's awesome. And Freshpaint has been making a really significant investment in content over the last couple of years. So we did a similar Q&A with Ray Mina, the VP of marketing, your boss, about the director of content role, which you're now in. And so we're doing it again. This time y'all are hiring a content production manager, which I have a bunch of questions about, but maybe give us like the 2 sentence overview of what Freshpaint is and who it's for. And I think that will set the stage for talking about the role with some additional context.
Yeah, so Freshpaint is we call ourselves a healthcare privacy platform. Basically, the problem we solve is healthcare marketers that work for like these big healthcare organizations. They can't use data like e-commerce marketers can because HIPAA, a whole bunch of other state regulations just prevent them from using data to optimize marketing, to optimize advertising. So most of the time, healthcare marketers are just in the dark. Like they just don't have access to simple metrics like return on ad spend. So Freshpaint unlocks a lot of that. We are in some ways a governance platform that allows some data to go back to ad platforms for optimization. So that allows healthcare marketers to just get more out of their marketing through Freshpaint. And as a content team at Freshpaint, there's just a big focus on content because like it's a really new space what we do in healthcare. So there just needs to be a ton of education on how it works. Make sure that healthcare marketers are comfortable with it. Make sure their compliance teams are comfortable with it. So content is just a massive piece of getting Freshpaint out in the market.
Got it. So it's fairly enterprisey. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, we sell to like smaller health tech companies as well, but like for the most part, our main ICP is like enterprise level healthcare organizations that are
Okay.
really spending millions of dollars a month sometimes on digital advertising, and they need to get more out of that because it's a huge investment for them. So they want to make sure that they're spending that money wisely.
Yeah, that's actually crazy to think that you could spend millions of dollars a month on advertising and not have any data on who you're advertising to.
It's
So
crazy. It's
I can
crazy.
like kind of knowing nothing else about this world, I can understand like how important Freshpaint would be in that equation.
Well,
Um, and how about the production manager? So you posted this on LinkedIn. You were very clear this is not a writing role. So this is different than a lot of other content roles out there right now. It actually struck me as forward thinking though when I read the job description. So give us the overview. Like what is the purpose of this role? Like kind of what job is it doing? And then I would love to know a little bit more also about who is the right person. Like what has that person? What is the person who ultimately gets this role? Like what have they been doing for the past couple of years?
yeah. So this role, the reason it's not a writing role is like healthcare marketing is super, super word of mouth driven, more so than any other industry I've ever worked in. We hear so often that like, oh, we're thinking about buying fresh paint. So I checked with like this healthcare systems director of marketing, this healthcare systems director of marketing, just to see what they're saying about fresh paint. And that's a lot of times how the sales process goes. Like a whole bunch of it is we're not even connected to. We don't know what's happening because it's all these back channel conversations. So we were thinking about like that word of mouth component. How do we unlock more of that? And obviously, content is a component to doing that. So we wanted to create a content role that is more about like unlocking the conversations that healthcare marketers are having with each other. And a lot of those conversations happen just on the trade show floor at an event, or at a presentation during the Q&A, or like on a webinar, things like that. It's a lot of these like just conversations that are just happening offline, and we want to capture those and make some of those people like more like stars in the industry, help elevate their status, help elevate their knowledge, because there's so much good thought leadership in healthcare marketing. These people are crazy smart. They're really good because they've had to work without, like I was talking about before, they've had to work blind for so long, so they've figured out
Right.
workarounds. And so this role is like really focused on unlocking those conversations at events, at whether that's virtual or in person, at trade shows, just figuring out how we leverage more of that, because it's like I said, there's just so much good stuff that's happening at these events that just falls by the wayside and it gets lost. And I think there's just a huge untapped opportunity there. So that's what this role is going to be focused on.
That's cool. And then, so the output of it is multimedia, right?
Yeah, I think primarily it'll be multimedia. Obviously, like if we have a conversation with somebody at a trade show, like use that conversation, create videos out of it, but then turn that into written content as well. And
Gotcha.
we've got a handful of writers on the team who can handle that aspect of it, which is why I specified that this is not a writing role, because I've got really good writers that I work with that can handle the written portion. So it's like we just need to get that input portion, like what's that thought leadership that we can capture and turn into written content eventually.
Yeah, yeah. What's the skill set that this person should bring to the table?
It's a whole bunch of different things. It's honestly it's a very like my I think it's pretty flexible in what I'm looking for. You need somebody that's like definitely got experience just like interviewing people, like if you've done a podcast or something like that, if that's something you're familiar with and comfortable with, that could be a big benefit. Somebody that has experience, like whether that's shooting video or being involved in video production, like that is definitely a component of it as well. I'm not necessarily looking for somebody who's like used to taking a camera to an event and setting it up and recording it, because we have freelancers on the staff that have been doing that. So if this person doesn't have that skill, they can leverage our freelancers, and we're good going that way. If the person we hire does have skills like that, then by all means we'll roll that direction. So I'm definitely flexible in like what I'm looking for, but I definitely need somebody that understands content marketing at a basic level, because like the fundamentals still hold true no matter how you're producing content. But then they also have the ability to produce webinars, presentations, interview content, maybe a podcast in the future, something like that. So
Cool.
it's super flexible.
Really cool. And remote with travel, I'm assuming, just given
Yep.
that like conferences are happening wherever they're happening and this person will need to be there.
Yes, remote with travel. So travel will be, I'd say it won't be like you won't be traveling every week all week, but like we'll pick specific events each quarter that this person will go to. So it's definitely a component.
Okay. And then do you have any suggestions for folks as they're applying? Like anything that you would love to see on an application that we can clue people in on?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is like I obviously like content beyond written content, but I want to see like some if you've done like some really cool, interesting stuff, even if it still is written content. But if you've done something that's just like different, interesting, could stand out in some way, like definitely highlight that in some way. There's a link on the application for your portfolio, so like make sure you take advantage of that. Send links to YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever you've done that's just cool. Like that's what I want to see. I think that'll go a long way to giving you a leg up with all the applicants.
Cool. I will not be surprised if we see this role all over the place in like 2 years. I think Freshpaint's ahead of the curve a little bit on this, and I think it's what you're describing sounds awesome. Like capturing genuine subject matter expertise, which is something we as content marketers talk a lot about, but like being there is
Yeah,
totally different than the kind of online async version of it that is kind of the lowest hanging fruit. So really
yeah,
cool role. Would encourage folks read the description thoroughly, send in a good application. If anyone's applying through Superpath and you want me to look over your application, shoot me a DM in the Slack group. I'd be happy to do that. And Mark, thank you for making time. Truly, it's a great service to anyone thinking about applying for this role. Just so much helpful context. So I appreciate you making the time.
yeah. Thanks for doing this, Jimmy. I appreciate it as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out.
All right, I'm excited for you. Good luck with the hiring. And thanks everybody for checking us out. Take care.
Thanks.